Hi there folks, Rel here. Today we'll be looking at one of the new faction-specific rocket launchers, the new conglomerate's Phoenix. We'll look first at specifics, then give you a general overview, and finally some strategy for making it most effective. The Phoenix, as I'm sure most people are aware of, is a camera-guided rocket with the ability to adjust its direction mid-flight. The Phoenix has a standard number of rockets at 1 chambered with 4 in reserve. It has a reload time only slightly longer than most other launchers at 5.7 seconds. And you must be looking down the scope in order to launch a rocket, but there is kind of a way around this that I'll talk about later. The rocket will fly in a relatively straight path as long as you're guiding it, and I say relatively straight because there is a lot of wobble and strangeness to guiding the rocket, making it annoyingly difficult to control even in straight lines. But you can also leave the camera view by pressing E or whatever you have the leave vehicle button bound to. However, if you're not actively camera guiding the rocket, it will immediately start to drop out of the sky. The spreadsheet says that it has the same projectile drop as other dumbfire launchers, but it doesn't actually feel like this is the case. The rocket seems to get very heavy very quickly, but that might just be subjective. The rocket does not curve nearly as much as I'm sure many people would hope. It's geared more toward mid-flight adjustments rather than hitting targets directly behind cover. When you first fire off a rocket, it gets a huge burst of speed for a couple of seconds, and then it slows down to the point where most vehicles can easily outrun it. Also, the Phoenix rocket has limited fuel, and it will only travel 295 meters, so to put this into perspective for you, while standing on top of the Crossroads Hill, you won't be able to hit anything worthwhile at the crown. This is by far the weakest element of the Phoenix rocket, and is something we'll talk more about later. A couple of other things I probably should mention are that when flying in a Phoenix rocket, new targets aren't going to render. You'll only be able to see what's already within render distance of your heavy assault. You can spot targets while cam guiding your rocket, but your voice will actually emanate from your player and not the rocket itself, as funny as that might be. The projectile from the Phoenix itself can be shot down by small arms fire and flak, though I've never actually had it happen to me. From a damage standpoint, the Phoenix launcher is not geared toward taking out infantry, but it will one-shot infantry, even a heavy with their shields up, as long as you land a direct hit. There's next to no splash damage on this weapon though. It's not only just very small, but it also does very little damage, so if you land a rocket right next to an infantry target, it will take about 40% of their shields, but that's it. For max units, however, you'll immediately chop off half of their health, so this makes it a very effective tool for taking out max units at long distance, or even short distances. But the strength of the Phoenix launcher lies in its ability to take out ground vehicles from a safe-ish distance. Sunderers can take 4 shots before they get set on fire, and 5 will destroy them. ESFs will be very close to dead within 2 shots, but it won't kill them outright. 5 shots from the front will set a main battle tank on fire, and 6 will kill it. An MBT will also die in 3 shots from behind. Lightnings take 4 shots from the front and 2 from behind. So those are more or less all of the specifics, and if I were going to sum it up, I'd say that the Phoenix launcher is a decent tool for taking out vehicles, but the short fuel supply, the initial projectile speed burst, and the crippled ability to actually turn the rocket mid-flight while smart balance decisions really limit the usefulness of the Phoenix launcher. That said, here are some ways to combat those downsides so you can get the most out of your launcher. Firstly, high points are the best points. It's much easier to adjust the trajectory and to hit a target that's below you, as you'll be able to see the ground instead of just having to kind of guess where in the air your rocket actually is. If the minimap followed the rocket as you flew over things, it'd be much easier to kind of keep tabs on the rocket, but this sadly isn't the case. On that same token, aim high if you're trying to hit targets behind cover far away, and this is going to give you some extra time to adjust the rocket's flight path as long as it has fuel. And abuse the speed burst, or maybe just know when your rocket is going to slow down. Targets will find it very, very difficult to avoid the projectile because it moves extremely fast for those couple of seconds. So if you're firing on an airborne target, they have to be close enough where you're going to be able to nail them within those first couple of seconds, or you're probably not going to hit them, period. Watch terrain collision. I've had rockets clip right through liberators and right through infantry when it seems like I should have hit them. I've also hit ground that I should have been able to fly right over, so I'm not sure if this is a issue with the camera being misaligned, but to adjust for this, just stay as far away from the ground as you can manage, and if you're hitting a vehicle or infantry, aim for the center mass. If you know you're going to miss a target, just stop guiding your rocket, so press the E key or the exit vehicle key. It's safer and it's smarter to exit early and reload than it is to just wait for the fuel to be used up. Not only because you can start prepping another rocket early, but you don't want to sit there exposed longer than you have to. Spot targets while in the rocket. Unless you're afraid someone is going to hear you from where your heavy assault actually is, spot targets to help your teammates out. The Phoenix can be a seriously useful scouting tool for spotting Sunderers and infantry hiding behind walls, even if you can't actually reach them with the rocket itself. And always remember to try to keep yourself covered, because you are sitting exposed while you are guiding this rocket, so if you can crouch behind some small cover and then fire your rocket slightly upward, it's going to be much safer than sitting in the open so that snipers can just rack up free kills. You can do what I call flicking, which is essentially priming the Phoenix to be fired without scoping, and this is going to help you out in close range situations where you want to get a shot off but you don't want to scope in first. If you're holding down the fire button, so that's the left click of the mouse, and then tap the right mouse button, you'll instantly fire off a shot. At that point, you can exit the vehicle per usual, but in close quarters combat, the rocket is just going to it's going to fire off and then it's going to explode, so you're going to get your maneuverability back very, very quickly. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. I hear that there's a TR max up here, so I want to nuke him. The left mouse button goes down first, and that's going to prime the Phoenix launcher so you see me slow down. And then as he comes into sight, I pop him by pressing the right click. It's very, very helpful for keeping your awareness as the rocket is going to start flying right where your crosshair already is. So all you need to do is line up your initial crosshair without worrying about scoping in. Overall, the Phoenix is a welcome addition to the NC arsenal, and while it might not be as much fun as it was in, say, PlanetSide 1, it will still be pretty entertaining. It fits in pretty well in PlanetSide 2, and I think the balanced decisions made to it were a good starting point for the weapon, but are a bit stricter than they should be. I completely understand and empathize with the developers as far as their balance situation is concerned, but once the Phoenix has been used for a while, hopefully they'll make some adjustments to give a little more life to this weapon. Lastly, I'd like to give a special thank you to the subscribers willing to eat some rockets for me. That's Headshooter from Cobalt and Gardem from Matherson. If this video has been interesting or helpful, please feel free to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel. And if you have any funny Phoenix stories or some helpful information that I left out of the video, please feel free to post a comment or a video response so everyone can watch. Thanks very much, folks. We're all signing off.
Engineer.